How to make your first 10K wholesaling real estate with cold calling. Guys, it's Rick Ginn, and in today's video, we are going to get into how to make a fast 10K profit by getting started in cold calling for your first wholesale deal. Now, if you thought cold calling is like overwhelming and scary, most people think that, but I'm going to show you why it is going to make you a phenomenal wholesaler and why you need to get it started today. But before I get into it, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe notification button to continue to receive the absolute best information on wholesaling today. So cold calling, unless you fell off this planet Earth, you have probably heard of it. And here's the really cool thing. It is not particular to just wholesaling real estate. It actually is applied to every business worldwide. Why? Because it works. It's extremely efficient. It's fast. And why go against the grain? So if you're considering cold calling for wholesaling, you're in the right place. And if you've never done it before and you want to find your path to your first 10K profit, I'm going to give you a step-by-step tutorial on how to do it from start to finish, and I'm going to simplify it. What most gurus will charge you a 10K course and drag you on for months, I'm going to nail it here in under 10 minutes. First thing we need to do is we got to compile a list. What kind of list? Well, you need to get a list for the most potential to locate motivated sellers. You see, in cold calling, the fact that you're calling strangers ice cold is the word cold, is the clue in it, is you might as well up your probability of getting a deal by finding the most motivated sellers list. How do I do that? You have got to laser target these lists to get the best results. Listen, you can call off FSBOs, you can call off like the Zillow leads, you can call off for rent ads, but the reality is you're going to have an incredible amount of quantity to even have a shot at one deal. So let's narrow down the list, because it is step one, to find the most targeted, motivated sellers to up your chances of getting to your first 10K via cold calling. Number one is a no-brainer, and if you're not doing this, you're really missing the boat. It's a simple technique called driving for dollars. All you do is get in your car, you look around. You don't even have to have a car. You can have running shoes, you can have a bike, whatever. Go out and find ugly houses. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be in your neighborhood. If you're in a more affluent neighborhood or you live with your parents, you got to go find neighborhoods where the average blue collar is going to work. Now, these houses are usually a dime a dozen, usually 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and they're very affordable, and there's a lot of houses in these divisions. Those are the neighborhoods you want to target, because that's where the most demand for these houses are going to be. All you got to do is really look for what we classically call ugly houses, but it's not just ugly houses. You look for houses with the grass that's grown incredibly high, the landscaping is overgrown, maybe the house appears vacant, maybe the newspapers are stacked up on the front door, maybe the mailbox is knocked down, maybe there's boarded up windows, maybe there's a blue tarp on the roof. Guys, these are all signs that there's most likely a problem with the house, and when there's problem, there's opportunity for a motivated seller, and those are people that we definitely want to reach out and cold call. Now, your goal is to go out and fill up your list as much as humanly possible. The more leads, the better. I recommend at least getting 100 leads every time you go out doing driving for dollars. The second set of lists I want you to focus on are what we call government lists. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to break down the specific type of government list to increase your odds of a successful cold calling campaign. The first list that I like the most is the code violation list. And you're going to have to get this from your city or county, most associated with the building department. These are basically when people, let their grass get too high, or the neighbor calls and complains about them working on cars in the yard, or the city drives by and finds their house not in compliance. The reason they have these departments is to keep everyone's home values up. When people stop caring for their home, they get a notice, and if they don't rectify the notice, they can actually get a lien on their house for up to $100 a day. Nobody wants that. So code violations are absolutely amazing for cold calling. Two other types of city lists that you can get that are a little bit challenging to get, but man, if you get them, it is phenomenal, is your water shutoff list. If you have a public utilities in your city or county, then you have a great shot at getting that list. When the water's shut off, usually motivation's high for someone eventually wanting to sell their property, and it works real well. The third type of list you're going to get at your county courthouse. It's a government list, and it's an eviction list. These are landlords that are filing a lawsuit against their tenants because they stopped paying rent and or they trashed the property. And guys, these are what we call the perfect scenario for a motivated landlord to sell their properties. That's why I want to put them on your targeted cold calling list. list. Now, step number 2, once we have that list, you're going to go to your property appraiser site and you're going to cross-reference these addresses and find the owners of the property. Once you have the owner's name, you're going to move on to step 3 and you're going to do what we call skip tracing. And skip tracing is just a fancy word for digging up the owner's information. You're going to find their phone number, maybe where they live, anything like that. And once you have that information, it's going to give you the ability to reach out via cold calling to these motivated sellers we mentioned earlier. Now, there's 2 ways to do the skip trace. You can do the free way or you can do the paid way. The free way is if you don't have a lot of money or you don't have any money and you're going to have to hustle in wholesaling because you're getting started. Maybe you're young, maybe you're just broke. Doesn't matter. I started out broke doing this business. Go to truepeoplesearch.com and what you want to do is find the owner's phone number. Now, sometimes you'll get multiple phone numbers or you'll get relatives. It's okay to reach out to them, but start with the main person and work your way backwards. The other way you can do it is a paid service. Say if you had hundreds and hundreds of addresses of motivated sellers, you can use services like listrei.com through PropStream, and for a nominal fee of anywhere from 10 to 14 cents per lead, they will skip trace that lead for you and come back usually with multiple phone numbers. It saves you a ton of time, but listen, if you don't have the money, it's okay. Use truepeoplesearch.com. Either way will work. So once we have the seller's information, the next step is step 4, which is to make contact with the seller. Now, this is where most people freak out. And this is where I need you to understand you have to finish the job. You did all the steps 1 through 3 to get to this point. You're committed to cold calling. Move forward. This is the difference when people who make money and the people talk about making money. The person that makes the most amount of calls will win via cold calling and wholesaling. And most of you get caught up like, what do I say, Rick? Simplify it. Number 1, be yourself. Number 2, understand you're going to be nervous. It's okay. You might have butterflies in your stomachs. You're uncomfortable. It means you're taking the right course of action because that uncomfortable will eventually turn to comfortable and you'll have to keep pushing yourself in wholesaling to continue to grow. Step 3 is what to say. So we're going to start out with a basic script, but honestly, the simpler you keep your script, the easier it is to do because you don't have to fumble over it. So a lot of times I call the other person. I said, hey, are you the owner of 123 USA Street? Yeah. Or like, who is this? Hey, my name's Rick. I drove by your property on 415 Northeast 7th Street. It seems like a pretty cool property. Do you have any interest in selling it? And get them to start talking. Now, at this point, understanding you have to go through a lot of people to get a deal. So all you're doing in the beginning is finding out if they're motivated to sell. Do they have interest to move forward with this phone call with you? A lot of them won't. There is a high rejection rate in cold calling. That's why most people freak out and don't do it. You have to be the exception to that and stand up to it and deal with it. If I call 100 people and I get 5 people that want to talk to me, I'm fine with that. That means 95 people are going to reject me. I know it going into it. The worst they can do is hang up or call me a name. And I really don't care as long as I have the ability to talk to a minimum of 100 people when I do this. Now, when you're making cold calling, understand you have to do a lot of quantity. You have a high rejection rate. You have to understand your goal is to survive the first 30 seconds of the phone call because they don't know you. Most of them are trying to get off the phone with you. So you got to have fun during this first 30 seconds. Asking open-ended questions and not asking the standard questions might be able to get you through with it. You got to play with this and be creative because if you just call and say, hey, are you interested in selling your house? I almost guarantee 99% of the people will hang up on you. So open up with, hey, are you the owner of 123 USA Street? And just keep moving forward. Hey, I drove by. I happen to be in the neighborhood. Love the house. Do you have interest in selling it? And at that point, it's yes or no. Listen, I don't want to spend 5 minutes with someone that doesn't have any interest in selling their property. You have to do the same thing. You first have to qualify if they have interest, and after that, we'll teach you how to qualify each lead on the characteristics of a motivated seller. To learn more how to do that, go to freewholesaling.com, and I teach you that in great detail there. So once you make contact with them, you find out what they need to get for the property. You run a simple comp, which you can do online for free, or you can use some paid services like listrei.com to do it. And guys, it's really simple. You're going to work with a large list of people. Remember, quantity is the game here, and you got to make those calls. It is not uncommon to make thousands of calls. You heard me, thousands of calls, because that's what it takes. So number 1, you don't have experience, and number 2, you're new to the game. How do you make up with it? With extreme enthusiasm. Call people with a smile on your face and just connect and qualify people and understand you are going to get rejected. So guys, once you do that, you're simply going to write them a contract. How do I write a contract? Go over to freewholesaling.com. I'll teach you that in detail. I don't have time to do that in this video, and we'll show you how to write that contract. And then from there, you will sell your contract via an assignment agreement to a cash buyer, and you keep rinsing and repeating. The beauty of doing cold calling is you don't have to leave your home. You can do it in your pajamas. And honestly, if you're willing to talk to people and find these lists and you got the guts to make the phone calls, it is actually easy to make your first 10K doing cold call. It is the fastest, most efficient, and the quickest way to make 10K in wholesaling, but you got to have the guts to go out there and make the phone calls. Don't make 20, don't make 30 calls. Commit to the first 100 calls, settle down, and then from there, you can figure out a repetition in the schedule to consistently call people and set your discipline. And people always say, hey, Rick, how many phone calls do I have to make in cold call and get my first deal? It's the wrong question. How many calls are you willing to make to get your first deal? And if it's unlimited, you are on the right path, because I can't predict that. Nobody can predict it. You are in control of your own success. You have to set the right attitude to get this done. Guys, I think cold calling is amazing. I did not start off doing cold calling because I didn't understand it, but it is a big part of our business now, of our wholesaling operations. And if you're brand new to this business and you like talking to people, cold calling is the fastest way to get your first 10K. So guys, let me know in the comments if you're using cold calling to get started in your wholesaling business. And listen, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe notification button to continue to receive videos just like this on the best information on wholesaling. Guys, go out there, make the cold calls. This is Rick Ginn. I'll see you in the next video.